All right, good morning, folks. We're getting started here in just a second. Just going to put a quick poll on the screen so I can understand who's in the audience. And we'll begin momentarily. We're just waiting for some people to keep coming into the webinar room, so just give us a minute, folks. All right, folks, we'll be getting started in just a minute. We've still got some people coming in. I've got a poll up. Feel free to fill that in. Also, feel free to use the Q&A tool and tell us what you would like to hear about today. These webinars are usually much better for the audience if we're addressing the actual questions that you've got around AI agents. So feel free to find the Q&A tool and sort of post us a message. You know, what are your sort of burning questions when it comes to using enterprise agents and using them at work? And we'll start here shortly. All right, let's get into it. So look, we're going to start with a few slides, a little bit of theory, and then go and actually look at some sort of practical use cases for AI agents, and you know how the technology that's available today is already reshaping the rules of pretty much every knowledge work category. I'm Ken Shaw. I'm the CEO of Main Beach Advisors. We're an advisory business who work with CEOs and boards for generally mid-sized and large companies. But we also have a platform, a software company that's a subsidiary of ours called Sapience, which is an enterprise agent platform. And so the concepts you're going to hear about today will be general purpose, and you can apply them to sort of any AI agent framework. But for the worked examples, I'm going to be using our platform because it's pretty great, and it's the one that I know best. So there will be a recording of the webinar. That's just one sort of small matter of housekeeping. And also, if you find the Q&A, if you haven't used the Zoom webinar software before, there's a Q&A tool where you can type questions. We will answer any questions that we get on the line through the webinar. And if there are too many, we'll do some dedicated Q&A after my presentation. If there are any questions that we don't get to, rest assured that we'll get in touch with you over email and answer those questions that way. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I promise there won't be too many slides. So if you're here, there's a pretty good chance you're already thinking about AI agents, right? But today we're going to sort of cover, just what are agents? Why are they setting boardrooms on fire? Why sort of is it the focus of many CEOs and many boards and many investors around the world? and then we'll actually look at some generic agent concepts, so how to think about planning for agents, building hybrid workforces, part human, part AI agent, and then if time allows, we'll even go and actually build a custom agent on the fly and see how that process works and how you can use it. So this is a slide that I usually get a lot of questions on when I present it at conferences. But I think you can actually see, what CEOs and boards and investors think about AI agents from the news headlines about layoffs. I should add to this slide the sort of recent layoffs at Block, Jack Dorsey's company, formerly Square, where he recently very publicly announced that he's laid off 40% of his workforce and replaced them with AI agents. And, Microsoft last year laid off 30,000 engineers across various functions and announced that 30% of their code is now being written by AI agents. And that's pretty staggering. Microsoft's one of the most valuable companies on earth, and writing and selling code is their core business. They're different to Google, whose core business is advertising, and they're different to Amazon, whose core business is logistics. Microsoft just writes code, sells code. That's what they do. And now 30% of that is being done by AI agents. And so, there is a sea change afoot, and the rules of how work gets done, which have been static for maybe 100 years, and certainly the development of the knowledge economy over the last 50 years, that rulebook's being ripped up and rewritten on the fly and in real time. So if you're here today, that's sort of step one on the journey, right? Starting to get smart about AI agents. But I will say this: if you're still, if you're still on the fence and still trying to figure out are AI agents going to be a thing, and are they something you should be investing your time into, I would warn you that if you wait another 6 or 12 months, you're going to get left behind, and careers and companies are going to be destroyed in this transition that's happening right now. What Jack Dorsey didn't say when he announced he fired 40% of his staff was the ones that were left behind were obviously the employees who were good at working with AI agents, building AI agents, managing teams of agents. And so you want to be in that camp and not in the camp that is let go. So this quote from Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, he sort of brags about how when they rolled out AI agents, and this is in the context of him promoting Agentforce, Salesforce's agent platform, he sort of talks about this quote of how they've reduced their human support volume by 17% at Salesforce by rolling out agents inside Salesforce's own technical support function. Now, I'm a Salesforce shareholder and have been for many, many years. And what you see in the earnings reports is that this directly correlates into fewer jobs, lower OPEX, and more profit for Salesforce. So, Mark doesn't connect the dots, but the follow-on sentence that should be here is that, and therefore we're reducing headcount in our support function by 17%. And that trend is going to accelerate and get bigger over time. So what is an AI agent? First thing to note is that in sort of the computer science and AI communities, there is not consensus on what makes an AI agent. But for your purposes, I don't think that matters, right? But there are some things to know. If you're using, say, ChatGPT or Claude in a browser, these are not AI agents, right? So generally speaking, that's consumer AI tech, generally running on models that are now like a year out of date, don't have access to tools, don't have access to good data. So if ChatGPT is the framework through which you're viewing AI agents, you should just delete that from your brain, okay? That is not an AI agent. A good AI agent would be something akin to ChatGPT that instead, of being generic, number one, is using the latest and greatest AI tech, which from Anthropic right now is Opus 4.6. From OpenAI, it's O3 for the Reasoner, or GPT 5.4 for the Transformer. But more importantly, a good AI agent knows everything about you, your business, your customers, your problems, right? So it has all of the world knowledge of a generic LLM, but it then has hyper-customized and specific information that is useful for you, your industry, your function, your company, right? And that's available right now. So imagine an AI agent that knows all of those things and then can also do everything a human can do at a computer, by which I mean read emails, send emails, watch a video, extract the transcript and analyze it, listen to audio, create marketing content, slides, PowerPoints, websites, analyze Excel files, build complicated Excel files. I recently used an agent that created for me a 3-year sales and marketing model, and it was as good as the sort of models that, you know, CFOs I used to employ who cost me $250,000 a year would create. So the tools that are available now and sort of sophisticated enterprise agents that you can deploy in your business now are pretty stunning in terms of their capabilities. There are certain things that AI is not yet better at than us humans. One thing is relationships. You know, even something like this webinar, an AI agent's not going to sort of sit here and present to you all. Creative thinking and sort of making novel connections between things. But even there, AI is encroaching on that territory, right? We're now seeing AI achieve certain things in mathematics and science that have eluded, you know, the best researchers for decades and decades. This last point is pretty important. A good AI agent can reason, plan, and act, can delegate, and that can mean coordinating with other AI agents or even delegating work to humans. But ultimately, an agent, you know, pursues a goal, coordinates a whole bunch of other technology to achieve that goal, and when necessary, escalates to a human, which is the whole human in the loop concept. So, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. Like most things, there are good agents and there are bad agents, right? And so you'll see here, you know, the big yellow point, that the big 3 consumer chatbots, and there I'm talking about, you know, ChatGPT, Claude in a browser, and Google Gemini. You know, these are not good AI agents. They'll hallucinate. They're jack of all trades, master of none. They can't, you know, they won't source their data. They certainly don't source their data into your internal corporate information. They don't collaborate well. They certainly don't, you know, coordinate with other agents. And generally speaking, that's something you're going to sit at your keyboard and have a real-time interaction with a chatbot. And I mean, it's cool, it's interesting, it's kind of a gimmick, right? So to me, all of those tools are tech demos, right? They're the promise of things that might come from those companies. Let's contrast that to a good agent, right? A well-built AI agent does not hallucinate. It's got anti-hallucination technology. It cites every claim it makes to source documentation, either on the internet or from proprietary databases or from internal corporate data. Is task-specific and a master of that thing. So an AI agent for, you know, security review, an AI agent for marketing collateral, an AI agent for, I mean, you pick your topic, for data analysis. So just as you know, if you were, well, for those of you who've run your own businesses, you know, you have a human for everything that you want to get done. For those of you who run teams, same thing. Joe is good at this certain thing. Regin's good at that certain thing. With AI agents, the same mental model applies. Different agents are good at different things. Number 4 is pretty vital, right? Good AI agents are faster, cheaper, and often better than the human equivalent worker. And number 5 is really where a lot of the magic happens. When you've got, you know, a good AI agent that's working well, and you're using the right platform, with the press of a button, you can now be running 100 of those agents, and they're all going to work with the same level of consistency, quality, intensity, and throughput. That's not true of humans, right? If you've got an amazing employee, you can't clone them and have 100 amazing employees instantly, if only that were the case. Good agents collaborate with humans, and they also orchestrate, you know, sort of other bits of technology. And number 8, they coordinate with other agents. Number 11, this is interesting. So if we were doing this webinar a year ago, a good AI agent might work for, say, 20 minutes unsupervised before it would get stuck and need to escalate to a human. Today, fast forward to today, and agents can now handily run for hours at a time, working on a long job. But I recently had an agent that worked for 23 hours to doing a massive job. It was a test. I sort of teed up a really complex piece of work for an agent in Sapience, and it ran for 23 hours, and it completed the work. It did it far more thoroughly than any human member of my team would have done, and I barely had to supervise it, or I didn't supervise it during that 23-hour period. When I went back and sort of analysed what it had done, I found that it had gone down a whole bunch of sort of rabbit holes that were wrong. And if I'd been there interactively monitoring it, I probably would have steered it. But it was beautiful that I didn't have to. It was beautiful that it went down those false pathways, determined that they were incorrect, backed out and tried again, and ultimately got the job done. For that piece of work, if I'd done that with humans, it would have been at least a week of duration that would have elapsed, and it would have been thousands and thousands of dollars to an expert contractor. And I had another experience last week where I was talking to a chief marketing officer who's using Sapience, and he was just overjoyed, and he was saying to me, Ken, I built this entire sales and marketing campaign in a day. I created a website, multiple landing pages, a whole bunch of an entire email sequence, some brochures, PowerPoint collateral for the sales team. I think that's it. I did it all myself, and it took 8 hours. I was like, okay, Paul, how would you have done this previously? And he's like, well, I would have called my agency in London, and it would have taken me a month, and it would have cost me £10,000. And so that level of sort of that delta in productivity is available today. And remember that AI today is the worst it will ever be. These things are only getting better month by month, quarter by quarter. The pace of change is absolutely staggering. So when I talk about custom knowledge, the concept of 20 million words of custom knowledge in an agent is pretty abstract, right? So this visualization just sort of maps that so you can see what that would be in pieces of printed paper. So in Sapience and in many agent systems, you sort of get context rot and you get drift above 20 million tokens. So that's 50,000 pages. So I'm a big guy. And if you were to stack pieces of printed paper in sort of one pile, it would be 3 times my height in terms of how much custom knowledge can be crammed into one AI agent. So that can easily be an agent that knows everything about your customers. It can suck in your entire CRM and know everything that's in HubSpot, right, as an example. Or obviously in say, the technical support context, an AI agent can have, not only can it have the entire knowledge base in its brain, but it can then also ingest all the FAQs, but more importantly, it can ingest all of the ticket information that's currently in your system, whether you're using Zendesk or Zoho or Salesforce or whatever you're using for help desk. So, like I said, not ChatGPT. That is not the rubric through which you should be thinking about AI agents. Good AI agents work in teams, right? So a simple request that might result in a 30-page report under the hood should be a whole swarm of AI agents that are each excellent at their individual job. This is sort of a case study from one of our clients where they're a management consulting firm and they have 35 years worth of sort of history and precedence. And so now when a client asks a question, one of their analysts will produce a 30-page report. And under the hood, that's usually using 4, 5, 6 different bespoke sort of task-specific agents to do the work. I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides in the interest of time. Apologies, I should have deleted these earlier. I want to go to this slide. So you've got to be careful who you listen to in AI. And, I think many of the AI leaders are deliberately obfuscating what agentic systems mean for the knowledge economy. Dario Amodi, CEO of Anthropic, he's not sugarcoating it. He's out there sort of telling the truth. And so he's worth following, he's worth listening to. And he said this 6 months ago, AI could wipe out half of all entry white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. Most of them are unaware that this is about to happen. It sounds crazy. People just don't believe it. Dario is absolutely right. And anybody who has used, anybody in, say, the software industry who has used advanced coding agents knows that this is true. And the AI labs solved coding first because it suits them. At the end of the day, AI models are computer code. So if you're Anthropic or if you're OpenAI, what's the most valuable thing that AI can do for you? Write code. And Opus 4.6 and Codex 5.3 were in fact the first two models where the AI built the AI. Both labs attribute far more of sort of the release of those models to the AI itself than to their human teams. So we're starting to sort of go into a vertical curve where now that AI is building AI, the pace of change is just going to accelerate. And we've seen that with the release cadence from the major labs. In the last 5 months, OpenAI released GPT-5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, now 5.4. So like a model a month. And each of these models are material step changes up in capability. It's crazy. And so I'm going to skip through a few more of the slides. Yeah, so this slide is the point I was just making. But, there are 27 million paid programmers on Earth, and we're not going to need anything close to that anymore, right? That because, so the guy who invented Claude Code recently just came out and said, we've solved coding. That's done. What's next? And you can certainly see what they're doing with Claude Cowork. They're pushing into all sorts of different spaces. They've released Claude Security, they've released plugins for legal and many other industries. Programming was interesting because not only did it suit the labs to focus there first, but coders were also very early adopters of the technology. What the major labs are missing when they talk about legal is that the legal industry is incredibly ossified and moves incredibly slowly. It'll be 10 years before legal is using, sort of agentic AI at scale. But in coding, that is not the case. And we're now in a world where you don't need junior and intermediate programmers anymore. AI just flat out does better work. I've got some junior programmers who work for me, and I'll never hire another junior programmer again, to be honest. Now it's sort of like juniors and intermediates need not apply. If you're an architect, if you're somebody who has previously built a system that supports 1 million users, and you know all the sort of the wrinkles and complexities that go into that, I want to talk to you. But then the whole conversation is all about how are you using AI agents, right? My previous company, I had 200 employees, more than 100 of whom were software engineers. And today, I would be running that company with 35, maybe 40 employees tops, right? Now, it was a software company, and as I said, AI agents are amazing at software, but this is coming to industry after industry after industry. And there's one more slide I want to go to. I'll just go to this one here. So if I put this back into present. So Anthropic actually just released a study, and this graphic comes from Anthropic's study, and it's talking to this tension of the difference between the capability of agentic systems and the adoption, right? So the blue is where Anthropic is claiming that sort of agentic systems powered by their models have capability. And there's been a variety of benchmarks out there that are used to measure sort of the quality of AI outputs, but there is a very interesting new sort of approach, which is there's a new benchmark where they look at the economically valuable work. In other words, work done by expensive humans, lawyers, accountants, marketing executives, right, etc. And on that benchmark, Anthropic's right. Agentic systems are now outperforming all but the most elite lawyers, the most elite finance professionals, the most elite accountants. But what's interesting here is the red inner graphic within the spider graphic, right? It's the red maps where there is adoption. So if we, for example, look at life and social sciences, even though, sort of the blue, the capability of agentic AI is sort of getting right up there, so to 80%, the actual adoption is tiny. right? Same thing in management, tiny. Legal, same thing. So I was once a lawyer. I have many friends who are lawyers, and I assure you that agentic systems do far better legal work than human lawyers do, and they're dramatically cheaper. But the legal industry moves slow. They're, tech-phobic, tech skeptics, and it will take a decade for that red bar to sort of come up here in legal. Computers and maths, unsurprisingly, this is sort of the highest adoption vector, but it's still low, right? Still under 40% based on this study. So depending on what industry you're in, there are different takeaways from this slide. When I look at this slide, I just see opportunity, right? Now, I'm an arms dealer. I'm in the AI game selling AI consulting and AI software. But if I'm looking at this slide and I'm, say, a lawyer, I still see opportunity because it's like, wow, there are these tools out there that can make me superhuman, and most of my industry is not using it. I'm going to run rings around my competitors because I'm going to go all in on agentic AI. And we're working with a law firm who's doing exactly that. This is a good study to maybe go and Google. So it's theoretical capability and observed usage by occupational category, which is a mouthful from Anthropic. All right, let me see if there are any other slides in here. Otherwise, let's go and actually do some stuff. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm going to stop that share and share my browser. Now, if folks on the line have things that they actually want to see or learn about, or case studies, how can I use AI for X? Now would be a terrific time to type that into the Q&A. Otherwise, I'll just give you a bit of a tour and I'll show you some cool things that I've seen people do with our system recently. All right, so let me move the Zoom windows out of the way. Okay, so I pulled up the Sapience website for two reasons. Number one, it's the platform in which I'm going to be demoing. Number two, it was built by AI, right? It's very meta, but Sapience understands who she is, and yes, she, and built this website and this positioning. And look, I have an amazing designer who works for me. His name is Alex. This is far better than the job Alex had done, right? And so Alex then took the work, he polished. He probably had to do 5 to 10% to wire this up and get it fast. But 90% of this was actually written by Sapience about Sapience. So the first thing you know about Sapience is it's a multi-vendor agent platform. If you're using Sapience, you never have to have FOMO or never have to worry where you see something cool that came out from Claude Code, like, oh, I wish I had that. Or, GPT Enterprise announces, OpenAI's enterprise offering announces something cool, and I wish I had access to that. With Sapience, you get access to the latest and greatest technology from all of the major labs. We've listed these 4 here because they're the most popular and the most asked after, but we actually support about 500 different models. So that's sort of one first thing to know, is that you're always sort of using the best AI tech for the job. Next thing you know about Sapience is that it was built sort of with trust and security in mind from day one. So everything it says to you is cited either into your own corporate data or if it's public, if it's internet data, it'll give you an answer. It won't answer from its general knowledge, sort of the weights baked into the LLM. And from a security perspective, Sapience was very much built with CISOs in mind. One of the biggest problems with AI right now, and it mirrors, over the last 20 years in security land, there was bring your own device, which was a nightmare. This is where everybody started bringing in their own iPads and laptops to the enterprise. And it was sort of this shadow IT thing that CISOs had to fight. Then there's bring your own cloud, people using Dropbox and other things. And so usually takes big companies a little while to provide corporate solutions that are safe for their employees. And if they don't do that, their employees are just going to go out and use, consumer grade tools, which are a security nightmare. So I won't go too deep on this here now, but if this interests you, put a note in the Q&A and we'll reach out to you. But Sapience is, we follow NIST CSF2. It's HIPAA compliant. We've got it deployed in the US federal government cloud. We've got many government clients around the world. The largest sovereign wealth fund on earth is a customer. Many Fortune 500 companies are customers. Several national governments are customers. Can all be deployed private cloud behind the firewall, air-gapped. So it's a platform that your team can use and trust, and it's a platform that your head of security can be happy with. Some other things worth noting is that, Sapience agents work 168 hours a week. So 24 times 7 is 168. Us humans, we work 40 hours mostly, and maybe 4 or 5 of those at peak productivity. Sapience agents work constantly, right? They can wake up on a schedule. I've got agents that wake up every hour and do work for me. I give it a simple prompt, like I'll set up a project and the scheduled prompt is work on any tasks assigned to you. And then throughout my day, I'm just adding more and more tasks to projects. With Sapience, you get a whole sort of library of pre-built agents. So it's a little bit like, the A-team in a box, right? There's a finance agent, there's a data agent, there's a graphic designer, there's a marketer, there's a research agent, and then there's an agent store where there are currently about 50 different agents from us and from third-party developers where you can extend the system and install more agents. And this is probably the last bit I'll show you generically. So Sapience is an operating system, right? It's a cloud-hosted operating system that supports both human users and also agents, right? And that's critical. That AI agents need a lot of things to run to be effective. They need access to tools. They need access to data and files. They need security. They need memory. So with Sapience, we integrate with 200 different enterprise systems in terms of data feeds. We provide a 4-tiered memory system so that agents can share memory at a system level and also at an agent level and a conversation level. What else will I talk about here? I think those are the big ones. So look, just like if you think about your phone, okay, so I've got an iPhone. There's a lot of apps on my phone where I can do things, right? There's a tasks app, an email app, a voice notes app, there's a browser, there's all these sort of apps that come from Apple, but then there's an app store. And I can go to the app store and extend the capability of my phone enormously by installing third-party apps. So Sapience is exactly the same. It comes with a whole bunch of apps built in. So it comes with sort of an AI-first file system. I was a Dropbox user for 10 years. I know Drew Houston. I no longer use Dropbox. I use Sapience. It replaces your writing surface, whether that's Word, Evernote, or Notion. And then there's a project management system where think of it like, say, Monday or ClickUp or, God forbid, Jira, but it's designed so that half the work can be done by humans and half the work can be done by agents. So I'm going to go to this tab here. I noticed that we had a whole bunch of marketing executives coming to today's webinar. So I had Sapience build this, and the prompt that I gave it, so the prompt that I gave it was, read your own website, consult your own help, and creating a landing page that's all about how to use Sapience for marketers. How can I help them do more, go faster, do more with less budget? And then I gave it some ideas. Let's have a look at what I created. All right. Now I'm actually looking at this live with you all. Oh, terrific. Okay. So it's pulled the logo, bit of a glitch there. I'd have to point it at a logo with a black background. I love that it's pulled this graphic. So this is this is one of the graphics where we talk about how Sapience connects with 200 different systems, right? Yeah, okay, so address content bottlenecks, zoom this in a bit, shrinking budgets, data overload, use it for SEO, HubSpot, yep, it's terrific at that. Automate repetitive work. Every marketing job done faster, done better. Ad and campaign copywriting, yep. Marketing agent, it's actually figured out which agents you would use. Landing page builder, designer agent, marketing sequences, marketing agent. LinkedIn posts on autopilot, scheduled jobs. It's funny that it said that. I do this every morning. I wake up and in my inbox are 3 LinkedIn posts where an AI agent has scoured the news of the day on certain keywords. It's got reference to my previous LinkedIn posts, and it drafts for me 3 posts that I could just copy and paste. And when I first started doing this, I always edited them. Now it actually has learned my tone of voice enough that they're 90% good enough to just post. It's pretty crazy. Competitive market and market research. Oh, I like this. Your marketing runs while you sleep. So this is terrific, right? Now, so just to you understand what we're looking at a website here built by Sapience, sort of selling itself to marketing leaders, right? Which is very meta, but also incredibly powerful. So let me go back into Sapience main, and I'll show you around. So here this is just sort of the main dashboard of Sapience, and so you can sort of see it's built around chats on the one hand, notes, files, and projects. But really, the heart of the system are AI agents, right? So if I go to say new chat, unlike ChatGPT, where I just get a box. Well, first I get the sort of inline help where it's explaining that, first I need to pick an agent, and that Sapience comes with this whole host of task-specific agents. So I'll hit, don't show me that again, hit close. So you can see there are 112 agents to choose from, and just a crazy number of options. I'm going to, and so I throw a bit of shade about ChatGPT. Like if you like ChatGPT, you can install it and use it. Right? From our perspective, that's just one little agent in a multi-agentic system. Worth noting here, you can see the Claude logo, and you can see the Google logo. You can see the Perplexity logo. So, with Sapience, you're getting access to all of that technology, and you can actually see right here in the undercarriage. So this agent here is built with Claude Opus 4.6, which is the most powerful model from Anthropic at the moment, and perhaps the most powerful model that is commercially available on Earth. So where are we going to go first? Well, all right. There are no suggestions in the Q&A. Again, folks, if you'd like to see me build something specific to you and what you're interested in, feel free to use the Q&A. What I'm going to do, though, instead is I'm just going to chat with the Sapience agent, which is sort of the default agent. And I'm just going to ask it, what can you help me with? What tools and skills do you have? You'll notice down here that sort of there are 2 dial. Well, I'll let it do its thing, and then I'll show you. So I'll come back to its answer in a second. I just want to show you something at the bottom here. We try and do our best to expose all of the power of sort of the underlying technology to you in a user-friendly way. So with this thinking menu here, you can basically decide how smart you want the AI to be. If you've ever used Cursor or Windsurf or other agentic IDEs, this would be familiar to you. But I can basically sort of have a balanced response. I can let it think. And when I click think longer, it actually can work for as long as 30 minutes. And then skills are vital, right? So skills, if you're not familiar with the concept of skills, you can think of them as really fancy prompts, right? So in our system, the website skill, it's about 5 printed pages worth of prompt information telling the agent how to build a terrific website. And skills are generally sort of discovered at runtime and use a thing called progressive disclosure. So an AI agent can it has a quick synopsis of all the skills available to it, but when it wants to use a skill, it will go and sort of get smart on that thing very fast. Okay, so if I just scroll back up. So the built-in system agent has access to all of these tools, right? So, and there are hundreds of tools in the system that can be given to an agent, but this one's got a lot. So it can access stock information, it can do data analysis and coding, it can build financial models, it can do creative output, it can do websites, it can integrate with just about anything. It's got sort of webhook support, HTTP post and get support. It can interact with REST APIs. It's pretty crazy. It's got a deep memory system. Cool. All right, so that's all interesting. But let me go and show you. Oh, somebody's put in a request, so I'll get to that in a second. But let me just show you some of my favorite things. I'm going to go to the sales development rep agent. So this has access to a whole bunch of sort of expensive data feeds that we pay for. If you've used Apollo or Clay Tables, we use the same wholesale data providers they do, ZoomInfo and PDL. But if I ask this sales agent, tell me about Kenshaw, Main Beach, advisors, find me details like phone number, email address. So this agent's called the sales development rep. Why does this agent exist? I'll tell you. My previous company, I had 40 humans whose job it was to do this. Okay? All they did was research prospects and send focused outreach messages to prospects. And they would spend, 2, 3, 4 hours per human that they were digitally stalking online to then create hyper-targeted outreach. And so this has come back in seconds. So yet it's used PDL. Sometimes it uses ZoomInfo. And by the way, ZoomInfo has nothing to do with Zoom, the video conferencing company. It's crazy. It's got my email and my phone number and my LinkedIn and my Twitter. Like, that's real, folks. Kind of scary. Yep. Yeah. It's got all my roles, my experience. Yeah. Education. Beautiful. So, there's just one. I did that in 10 seconds, right? There's just one insanely powerful use case for anybody who's involved in sort of sales, or even if you're just meeting with somebody. And I could then have it go and read the website. It can browse the web. It can watch videos. It's pretty crazy. Okay, so a user's asking, an audience member saying, I want you to create an agent to create articles and post on LinkedIn on a fortnightly basis. All right, so there is actually a LinkedIn agent. So I'm going to go and find that. There we go. So let's grab the LinkedIn agent. So the LinkedIn agent is hyper attuned to the best practices for creating good content on LinkedIn, right? It understands how to create viral posts. It understands how to do brand building posts. It knows more about LinkedIn posting than most marketing executives do. And so I'm just going to, now what I do is I schedule this, right? So I go schedule jobs, and let's have a look at my scheduled job. So I say, research the latest Wall Street news regarding AI, layoffs and market movements, email the news to me, research the best practices for LinkedIn viral posts, draft 3 LinkedIn posts, and email them to me. And that happens every morning for me at 10:30 a.m., which is awesome sauce. But let's go in here and let's say, search the web. Did you give me a topic? No, you didn't give me a topic for your LinkedIn posts. Let's say it's search the web for latest news and information about AI security. Things that CISOs, security professionals care about. Draft me some LinkedIn posts that use. So that's going to work away. The audience member has now said about project management. Okay, so that came in after I put the prompt in. So we'll give it a second. While it's working, I just want to show you some of the other types of things you can do. So using the coding agent and the data analyst agent. So one of the agents that Sapience comes with is the data analyst agent. It's capable of just doing insane sort of data science work and visualization work. So I gave it a data set of 1 million data points as a test, and I asked it to give me a 3D representation on sort of these 3 vectors. Now, these were not simple vectors, okay? The data set didn't have anything labeled direction, execution, and results. had to do a whole bunch of complex reasoning to do that. And it gave me this graphic, and I was like, whatever, don't care. And then I accidentally moved it and discovered it was an interactive 3D model that I could zoom into, zoom out on, and that every data point here has the key metadata from the million data points. And that just blew my mind. And I created this months and months ago, right? So this is actually, Sapiens had this sort of capability for a long time. But that's when I talk about being superhuman, I couldn't build that, right? I'm a great coder. I've been a CEO for 20 years. I couldn't build that. I got a guy on my team whose name is Brian. He's listening right now. He is a data scientist. He's a data scientist and visualization guy. That's been his career. And when I showed him this and I asked him, Brian, how long would it take you to create that? He thought for a while, like there was 30 seconds of silence. And then his answer was, Ken, I couldn't create that. It's not a matter of time. I could never create that. Now, what do you do with that information, right? When AI starts outperforming senior professionals. In my case, I keep Brian, I teach him how to use the tools, and now Brian is capable of either smashing out 5 to 10 times as much work in a given week, or Brian levels up and does things that he could never do before. Some companies would just let Brian go. They'd fire Brian and pocket the savings. And that is the fork in the road that you as leaders are going to have to face. Let's go back to, okay. So here are our posts. Right, so the first one. So for it's to security leaders, audience. Here's the most secure. Okay, so there's the first post, including hashtags. I like that. And what I like about that is that it's marrying it to an overall strategy, right? So it's giving me a suggested visual to use. And by the way, it can create visuals, so I could get it to do that for me. It's giving me, articles that I could reference if I wanted to. Here's another post. 3 practical controls that reduce error risk fast. Okay, yep, I like that. Okay, yeah, cool. So hopefully it's giving you sort of a taste of what it can do on the LinkedIn front. And note here this, right? So it's given me 14 different citations for the work that it just did. Imagine asking somebody on your marketing team to give you 3 LinkedIn posts, and they come back and they give you 14 citations for how they did the work. Just doesn't have humans don't work like that, right? Good AI agents outperform all but the most elite humans. There's another question on the line. Can I control what data the AI uses to answer questions? Yeah, absolutely. So everything is, so in this case, you can see I prompted it to go out and search the internet. But there's a whole sort of file system within Sapience. I'm in my test account, so it looks a bit junky. But I've got thousands and thousands of files in the system. You can have Sapience work just with a particular file. In fact, you can actually chat with any file. So imagine you upload a complex contract. You can then chat with the contract, right? So any file uploaded to Sapience, and we have a desktop app that's just like Dropbox. You can, you can run Sapience on Windows and Mac, and it literally replaces Dropbox. So any file, it's sort of instant RAG for those of you who are technically oriented around files, but more importantly, thousands of files. But I want to show you projects because we're starting to run out of time. Projects are, this one. Projects are one of Sapience's most powerful features, right? So on the one hand, it's a great project management tool that humans will use, right? So I can go into goals and tasks and I can model out quite a sophisticated program of work. Let me expand this. So in this case, you can see that this is quite a complicated project with many phases, many goals all on the way. And I can manage this, in a variety of ways. So there's an Eisenhower matrix where I can do the normal Eisenhower things. So this is all just ranked on urgency and importance. There's a Kanban board, there's a calendar view. So there's a sort of a terrific work surface here for humans to do work. And you can then share this with your team. Sapience is, it's a team-first tool. It's very much designed to be used with your entire organization. Notes are Sapience's built-in sort of writing surface. So I'll just open one up so you can get a look. So, instead of using Word or Notion, you use Sapience Notes if you want to. It's sort of, think of it like a mini version of Google Docs and Sheets. It's got a built-in spreadsheet editor. You can write with voice. You can dictate. I'll open this. So anywhere in the app, I can just dictate, and it's got amazing dictation capability, kind of like whisper flow. I can write with agents, so I can have one agent write a paragraph, have a different agent write a different paragraph. So we sort of reimagined many apps to be how they should be if they're AI first. And if you're waiting for Microsoft to do this, they never will, because they're trying to protect their Office franchise, and it's frankly now starting to look kind of crap. But if I go back to goals and tasks, I want to show you something cool. If I come in here and I say, write me a LinkedIn post about project management, this is what the user then asked. So yes, I want you to write a LinkedIn post all about project management. I'm going to assign that not to a human, but to an agent. Okay, so I hit create. And we'll go. So there it is. It's popped in here. And so you can see it's assigned to a project agent, status to do. I'm going to fire up chat. So I'm now chatting with this project. And by the way, like, we all know that project management software sucks, and we all know that people don't keep things up to date. But as a leader, being able to chat with a project and ask it, where are we at? Who's behind? What's late? Where are we stuck? You can do all of that built into Sapience projects, and it's amazing. But I'm just going to tell it to work on tasks assigned to you. Now, a more realistic real-world workflow is that you have a project like this one with many humans in it, and you set up a scheduled job to run, say, every few hours or once a day like this that says work on tasks assigned to you. And then that way, as humans are throwing more and more jobs into the project, the Sapience agent will wake up and do work, right? And so that's sort of an incredibly powerful part of the system. So it's working away. There's a question here, can Sapience actually do the post? Yes, it absolutely can. But it only puts it into your LinkedIn account in draft mode, and that's deliberate. We don't want customers complaining about, that we posted something wrong. So it's not a capability issue. Sapience can absolutely post to LinkedIn, and we could make it so it posts to your live feed. But to protect ourselves, we only allow it to post in draft. So then the action on your end is to go in, and actually authorize the post. Question of whether or not Sapience can do visuals for the LinkedIn post. Absolutely. In fact, that same agent can do visuals. I just didn't ask it to. So if I'd asked it to create images, it would have done so. All right, so let's finish that work. Let's now go back into, I may need to refresh. Let's refresh. So now let's go back into that task, okay? If I open additional notes, check this out. Here's all the work that the agent did. And firstly, that took seconds. Secondly, have you ever had a human who gives you this kind of proof of work? I haven't, and I've employed thousands of people over the years. So, it did the job. Here's how it thought about it. Here's what it did. And it's marked it up here as needs review. Okay. Oh, hang on. Cancel that out. So now let's go and have a look at what it did. I might need to refresh this. Here it is. Beautiful. Right? So simple example that we gave it there, but in the interest of a webinar, we're sort of trying to go fast. But what we just saw there was a project agent who knows more about the project than even a full-time project manager could. A project agent that worked, by itself and did a real job, that can do so on a schedule. You could set it up to wake up every hour and work on anything assigned to it. But then also working well with humans, right? It's come back to me and it said it needs me to review the work, and it's given me all of its working notes. You also saw the speed with which it worked. So in that little example, so thank you. Well, the username doesn't, I don't know what your name is, but thank you for that one, because what we just saw there allowed us to sort of do many different parts of the system. And that would have emailed me. Another thing that is worth noting when you're dealing with Sapience agents, so if I get back to, where was it? Notice this here. So every Sapience agent has a link, has an email address. So, you know, when you're in big companies and you've got people who are slow to adopt tech, there's no excuse for not using an email, right? Anybody can. So if you guys email that email address, you'll get an error, right? You'll get a bounce back saying you're not a user. But this is just a killer feature of Sapience, the fact that every agent has its own inbox. And that just allows you to work with Sapience agents like you would a human employee. And, you know, like I can record voice notes and send them. So this is an audio file, but Sapience has the content, right? It's transcribed the audio. It'll do the same thing for video. Well, it's a very simple audio file. So, you know, anything a human can do at a computer, Sapience can do for you. And definitely faster, definitely cheaper, and oftentimes better. I can have a conversation with it. Not sure if this will work through the webinar software. I might, we'll see if this works. I'm not seeing an option to share my audio with the audience. So I don't actually think this will work if I try it. Can one of my team tell me if this comes through, please?
Hi, Ken. I'm Sapience. I can search the web, read URLs you share with me, answer questions about using Sapience, help you understand the different agents you have access to, and even query them for you. How can I help you today?
Tell me the weather in Sydney, Australia right now.
Let me search the web for the current weather in Sydney, Australia. One moment. Right now in Sydney, Australia, it's about 22 degrees Celsius with patchy rain possible. There's around an 83% chance of rain, humidity is about 83%, and winds are coming from the southeast at around 11 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 16 kilometers per hour. You might want to have an umbrella handy.
So I'm looking at my window, folks, and that is like, she nailed it. That's spot on. And voice mode is not a gimmick, right? Voice mode is actually an incredibly powerful tool for folks who, again, can be a bit intimidated by these AI systems. So, you know, we've worked hard to make sure that all the ways that knowledge professionals work, they can continue working that way in Sapience. So, you know, you can email with it, you can talk to it, you can use it interactively like we just did. You can have it work on a scheduled job. It's the equivalent of a remote worker. So, you know, I've got team members in Australia, in America, in the Philippines, India, in the Middle East, and Europe. They all work for me. And I can email them or send them WhatsApp messages. But I don't get together with them physically. I can drive Sapience exactly the same way, right? I can message with it, I can email with it, I can talk to it, send it voicemails, I can talk live with it. So it is the equivalent of a digital remote employee. And we're out of time, but I'll just sort of finish on this. I mean, you know, there are many different things already, many agents already built into Sapience that come out of the box. And then here are some use cases that, you know, a lot of companies do. So data and technical analyst agents. So Sapience's ability to crunch numbers is just staggering. Subject matter experts. Oftentimes people will create this to sort of, you know, senior professional downloads their brain into their own agent and then gives that to their team. And it just allows a leader to, one, lift the performance of their team, to handle a lot more work themselves. Training agents, the voice mode is incredible for delivering training, to be honest, and it's just so much cheaper than using, paid professional human trainers. Sales agents, you saw its ability to get access to crazy good data. Like it got my real phone number and email. We'll have to edit that out from the recording of the webinar. Customer support, it's amazing for, because one Sapience agent can hold 50,000 pages of information in its brain. There's no human CS rep that can do that. And look, ultimately, with agentic systems, time to market matters. So if you're in the business of building agents, if you're an engineer or a technical person on this call, I'm a coder first, always will be. Please feel free to reach out. Like we're very interested in talking to builders. We have a lot of third-party developers who are currently building agents for our agent store and using Sapience in their products. So we'd love to talk to you. All right, that's all, folks, for today's webinar, but thanks for joining. If you'd like to learn more, please just put your email address in the Q&A or your name, and we can look up your email address. I'll leave the webinar live for a few more minutes, but I'm going to go off camera. And really hope that today has been useful. And drop your contact details in either the chat or the Q&A if you'd like to learn more or maybe sort of get a demo of the system. Otherwise, have a terrific day.